Hello and welcome to Beyond Borders, the program that takes you across nations to explore partnerships, progress, and people shaping South Sudan's future. I am Rita Ilwe. We focus tonight on the ever-growing friendship between China and South Sudan, a partnership built on mutual respect, cooperation, and shared dreams of modernization. On 30th October, the Chinese embassy in Juba hosted a symposium on the key outcomes of the fourth preliminary session of the 20th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China (CPC), focusing on how both nations can jointly advance modernization and development. At the event, the Chinese ambassador to South Sudan, Ma Chiang, reaffirmed China's unwavering commitment to supporting South Sudan's journey towards growth and modernization. He highlighted fresh opportunities arising from China's upcoming 15th five-year plan, which emphasizes innovation, openness, and sustainable development.
With the lowest crime rates and the highest sense of security in the world, Chinese people can go out at any time without worrying about safety issues. Distinguished experts, scholars, dear friends, when the People's Republic of China was founded in 1949, the per capita national income was merely $27. Since the implementation of the first five-year plan in 1953, China has developed from an impoverished agricultural country into a country with a per capita GDP exceeding $13,000 and composite national strength ranking among the forefront in the world. This is a unique development miracle in human history. In my personal review, the following points are critical to creating this miracle. The first is the centralization and unified leadership of the CPC. The CPC plays a strong co-leadership role in all aspects of China. Over 100 million party members and 5.25 million party organizations at all levels ensure the party's strong leadership and implementation capability. I believe many South Sudanese friends who have visited China know this very well. The second is focusing on strategic planning and implementation. Through the scientific formulation and effective implementation of five-year plans, China provides clear and coherent strategic guidance, ensuring policy continuity and stability. The third is adhering to a people-centered development philosophy. China is always standing, thinking, and working together with the people, and takes the people's interests as a starting point and ultimate goal of every major decision, addresses people's concerns promptly, and thus wins their trust and support. Multiple surveys shows that the Chinese people's trust and satisfaction with the party and government exceed 90%.
And his message to South Sudan was very simple but powerful. Embracing China is embracing opportunities.
Distinguished experts, dear friends, in recent years, China-South Sudan relations have continued to develop. Political mutual trust between the two countries has been consolidated. President Xi Jinping and President Salva Kiir Mayardit had a meeting during the Beijing summit of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation in September last year and reached a series of important consensus. The CPC and SPLM maintains close and friendly exchange. Today, we also have Professor Wang Wen and Associate Professor Xue Li here, who visited South Sudan in August and had enthusiastic exchange with over 200 SPLM members. Besides, our two countries' practical cooperation in various fields has yielded fruitful results. A number of China-South Sudan Belt and Road cooperation projects, such as the Phase 2 of the Juba Teaching Hospital and Juntao Technology Cooperation, are progressing steadily. In the future, we will continue to carry out new cooperation I've been working in South Sudan for over 3 years and deeply feels that it is a country full of hope. South Sudan possesses many advantages, including young population, abundant resources, and favorable geological location. Once its potential is fully tapped and the country achieves peace and stability, South Sudan will surely embark on the path of prosperity and modernization rapidly. As President Xi Jinping pointed out, embracing China is embracing opportunities. Believing in China is believing in a better tomorrow. And China is ready to take the opportunity of implementing the important outcomes of the fourth plenary session of the 20th Central Committee of the CPC and jointly push for advancing modernization together with South Sudan, promoting common development and delivering greater benefits to our two peoples. Finally, I hope that more wisdom and valuable suggestions for China-South Sudan bilateral relations will come out through this symposium, and I wish this symposium a complete success. Thank you.
Representative of the South Sudanese government, Senior Presidential Advisor Kwon Manyang Juk, hailed China as a true friend and brother in times of need. He praised China's transformation as an inspiring model for South Sudan's own development journey as a story of discipline, vision, and unity.
I was honored to receive an invitation from Your Excellency Mao Chiang to speak on this important occasion. I accepted with great anticipation, waiting the release of the communique from the fourth plenary session of the 20th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China, held in Beijing from October 20 to 23rd. I therefore extend my sincere appreciation to Your Excellency, and I am proud to call you a brother, a true friend in times of need. This symposium is organized in two distinct segments. First, a review of the outcomes of the plenary session, and second, a discussion on our collaborative efforts to advance modernization in both China and South Sudan, with particular emphasis on the latter. Let us begin by considering China's role in the global community. China is a nation transformed by rich heritage and a spirit of innovation. It stands as a beacon of modernity, having lifted hundreds of millions out of poverty in a remarkable short period. This achievement is the result of steadfast dedication, commitment, and a clear national purpose, qualities that have earned China worldwide admiration. Notably, China is willing to share its development blueprint with the world, welcoming those who seek partnership. For us, this is the essence of China, a genuine friend and a partner. Furthermore, China has consistently demonstrated unwavering support for impoverished and developing nations, advocating for humanity in the United Nations and other international forums. China upholds the principle that each nation's internal affairs are its own to resolve, free from external interference. China envisions a peaceful world where all nations coexist harmoniously. South Sudan, as a matter of principle, acknowledges the One China policy, demonstrating our respect for the sovereignty and integrity of the People's Republic of China. In year 2011, China was among the first nations to recognize our independence and has remained a steadfast partner in our development journey. The recent plenary session stands as a testament to China's unwavering commitment to its citizens and nation. During this session, progress reports were presented for the economic advancement and various other programs, and accountability was upheld. Party discipline and objectives were revised, and a new 5-year plan was discussed. Key areas of focus include deepening comprehensive reform, advancing socialist democracy and the rule of law, balancing domestic and international priorities, and ensuring both development and security. Why is this relevant to South Sudan? As a young nation in the process of defining its own path, we find valuable lessons in China's experience. Mass organization, developmental strategies, continuous refinement of governance, collaborative construction of a shared future based on mutual benefit and respect, innovation, and new production methods. China's focus on the future prosperity of humanity resonates deeply with our aspirations for our people and for the global community. Distinguished guests, at the continental level, the tragic images of young African men and women risking and too often losing their lives while crossing the Mediterranean Sea in pursuit of a better future in Europe serves as a powerful call to action. For most, it is a journey of no return. It is our collective responsibility as Africans to address this crisis by prioritizing the development of Africa and ensuring that our youth can find opportunity and hope within their own communities. This is not only an economic necessity, but a moral imperative. Moreover, we have, Africa's persistent underdevelopment can be partially attributed to the legacy of colonialism. Instead of partnering with us, the colonial powers exploited our continent, extracted resources for their own gain. There was no genuine partnership, brotherhood, or humanity, only resource extraction, brutality, the imposition of foreign cultures, and the creation of arbitrary borders that continue to fuel conflict across Africa. In contrast, China has engaged Africa as a genuine partner and friend. It has played a pivotal role in lifting millions of Africans out of poverty by constructing vital infrastructure, enhancing trade and connectivity, and delivering essential services. This remarkable achievement mirrors China's own extraordinary progress. Despite these positive contributions, some voices in the international community attempt to portray China as an obstacle to Africa's development, suggesting that Chinese loans will result in unsustainable debt and the loss of our natural resources. They advocate instead for engagement with multilateral international financial institutions. However, our experience with these institutions has often been disappointing. Their loans have rarely been sufficient to build our economies and have sometimes served as instruments of neocolonialism. When defaults occur, they impose structural adjustments, disorderly market liberalization, and even support coups to install leaders who would serve their interests to the determinant of our societies and economies. This is not the mark of true friendship, though there have been a few notable exceptions. South Sudan, a young nation, has faced numerous challenges in its journey towards nation building. Our borders were arbitrarily drawn by external forces, and for an extended period, we were denied the fundamental right to self-determination. Marginalization and exploitation by successive Khartoum regimes compelled us to seek freedom at any cost, resulting in decades of conflict and the erosion of our cultural heritage and livelihood. The proliferation of small arms, the breakdown of peaceful coexistence, and the devastating consequences of war have left deep scars on our society. Over 2 million lives were lost in the struggle for independence. Now, having achieved political independence, we must confront the question of why internal conflict persists. The crises, often labeled as tribal in nature, are deeply rooted in poverty, manifesting as struggles over limited resources. Experience has shown that repeated peace talks and reconciliation efforts, while well-intentioned, have not yielded lasting solutions. Without tangible improvements in people's livelihood, such dialogues tend to falter. To truly resolve these conflicts, we must address the fundamental issue of poverty. This requires comprehensive and radical solution, which I will discuss later. Only by tackling poverty at its root source can we pave the way for sustainable peace and poverty in our nation. Moreover, we have not always maintained the discipline and unity required within our own ruling party, the Sudan People's Liberation Movement, SPLM. A lack of adherence to party doctrine and vision has allowed greed, corruption, indiscipline, and impunity to take root, resulting in internal divisions and conflict at a time when we should have been delivering the dividends of peace to our people. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as previously highlighted, the ongoing conflicts in South Sudan are deeply rooted in poverty and challenges to party unity. Thus, I welcome continued engagement between the CPC and the SPLM. Through mutual learning and strengthening relations, we can benefit from your commitment to vision, discipline, and the continuous refinement of governance. We will draw inspiration from and adopt the Chinese model of national service to instill values and foster a sense of shared identity among our youth. Every able young South Sudanese, men and women, will be required to serve the nation for a year. This experience will help them form enduring friendships that will serve as a foundation for a collective commitment to the development of a prosperous South Sudan for all. On the economic front, Chinese enterprises have played a vital role in developing and managing South Sudan's oil sector, which serves as a vital source of income for our government and people. China has quietly contributed to the construction of critical infrastructure, including the ongoing development of a modern hospital in Juba, the expansion of road networks by Chinese contractors has directly enhanced trade, security, and service delivery. Furthermore, China offers numerous scholarships to South Sudanese graduates, enabling them to pursue advanced studies, acquire nation-building skills, and return to contribute to our progress. China's support for peacekeeping in South Sudan, both financially and through the deployment of troops, some of whom have made the ultimate sacrifice, has been invaluable. Importantly, all these contributions have been made with respect for our sovereignty and without interference in our internal affairs. South Sudan, with a population of approximately 12 million, is blessed with abundant natural resources: oil, gold, fertile land, water, and sunshine. In theory, we are not poor. However, we will remain so unless we harness these resources for the benefit of our people. The solution, therefore, lies in forging genuine partnership for development. We look to China as a trusted partner to collaborate with us in building critical infrastructure and leveraging our natural resources for mutual benefit. Developing modern agriculture will enable us to produce sufficient food for domestic consumption and export. Improved road infrastructure will stimulate trade, enhance security, and facilitate the efficient delivery of services. As these economic activities flourish, South Sudan will be well positioned to meet its financial obligations using the development of natural resources as collateral. Our goal is to become a productive, prosperous, and peaceful nation and lift our people out of poverty within the next decade. I look forward to engage further with you, Brother Ma, my brother Ma Chang, to explore these solutions. China develops its partners while others impose sanctions. The contrast could not be starker. Only together can we achieve the seemingly impossible. Thank you very much.
Call urge the nation to strengthen ties with China, particularly in agriculture, oil, infrastructure, and education to unlock South Sudan's potential and achieve everlasting peace and prosperity. Adding their voices, Edmond Yakani, the Executive Director of the Community Empowerment for Progress Organization, SEPO, called for stronger leadership and deeper engagement between the two nations, emphasizing the value of learning from China's experience in governance and growth.
Your Excellency, Ambassador of China in the Republic of South Sudan, Honorable Senior Presidential Advisor, Hugo Sir, Kwanyi Tia. Your Excellencies, you're almost welcome. We're in a global world. I'm trying to express myself in China within Juba. Language is the connections. Language is the connector. I hope I've tried. I would like to move, from my perspective, I want to move away from words to actions. I'm really very interested in that. We have been following, and I'm one of the persons who was so much exposed to several visits to China, to look at the modernization of China. And now speaking about modernization of China and new opportunities in South Sudan, the first thing I would like to nail down is that since the independence or since the struggle for South Sudanese to become independent, do you have any philosophy that is much more within the Chinese characters, that is more citizen-centered? I will answer yes. There are two particular ideologies or principles that are very important in our struggle. One of the principles that is in our struggle is that we need to take towns to the villages, which is mainly we are encouraging human migration from urban settlements to the rural settlements. It means people should migrate from the towns and go to the village, and that is clearly described by the philosophy of taking the towns to the villages. That's one particular central principle in our struggle for independence in South Sudan. The second central principles that we have as we are aiming and we are sort of like expecting or predicting a potential independence, we have a philosophy of peace through development. That means if we want to attain peace, it's through development. It's actually not peace through military struggle. What we have is that is anchored as a principle, as a document of the ruling party, that people have to get peace through development. So I think for me, these two concepts nail down the foundation that South Sudanese have aspiration, which is more or less like Chinese aspiration. Where have we gone wrong? That is a question that requires its own different session. But based on this, because of time, I feel translating all the words and all the seminars, all the engagement we have around Chinese modernization and borrowing out of it opportunities for South Sudan, My appeal and my call will be actually South Sudan. We may need to focus about how do we put a clear blueprint on poverty elevation, because we are aware that poverty is the center of every political instability in the world. And in South Sudan is a clear case that poverty drives the war. A hungry person always looks for opportunity. And whether that opportunity is through respecting the social norms or not, or shortcuts, this person will look for this opportunity. So my feeling will be that much more in South Sudan, we need to look into how do we fight poverty in a given period of time, and how do we fight that using the experience of Chinese modernization. And I think that for me is very good. The last speaker used the concept of food. You know, food makes you decide and predict the future. So if we can invest around elevation of poverty for me in South Sudan, that will be really very good experience that we have got it as an opportunity of Chinese modernization in South Sudan. I think that one of my appeal will be that I will call for all Chinese at a different capacity, at the capacity of a government, think tanks, academia. There's a need to help South Sudan. How can we build a blueprint about poverty elevation? And that will take us back to the aspiration that we have by taking towns to the villages, or the concept of peace through development. I think for me that's really very important that we can borrow. My exposure to China, it makes me to believe that actually in South Sudan, one of the best way we can learn from China modernization, and that is very important, it is a concept of investing on vocational skills, which is sort of like a quick win intervention in empowering human resource in creating a society that earns income. So I think investing on vocational knowledge, on vocational exchange of experience between South Sudan and China, that would be really a great opportunity for turning the situation in South Sudan to a positive situation, but also that would be a clear linkage between China and South Sudan around China modernization. For me, I feel that's really a great area that we should invest on that. For instance, in South Sudan, as we normally hear the news, is violence almost dominant in the aspect of the news, but still within South Sudan, I will describe still we have pockets of development. There are areas we can describe them as a pockets of development, and maybe we need to use the pockets of development as a case study to send a message to the population that look here, we still have opportunity if we can learn from Chinese modernization, and that may help us to secure the peace and the stability that we have been yearning for. And these particular areas that I call them as a pocket of development is areas that where we can invest, for instance, on fish industry. We have Jongole Estate along the river, right from Juba here until we reach Bor. It's really an opportunity that there's a tarmac road. We can invest on those fish industry, and that will become an opportunity that we need to build on in other areas that we can pronounce, like in Baragazal or in Terekeka or some parts of Eastern Equatoria. We can invest on agriculture, and that can really change the lives of the people and can bring food to the people. And that may be actually sending a strong signal. Instead of political call for sustainable facility, it will be actual now the development that is calling for sustainable facility, because communities have to really commit themselves for sustainable facility in order to be like their fellow colleagues that are within the areas that we describe them as pockets of development. So I think maybe that's a lesson that we need to learn from Chinese modernization that can act as an opportunity for South Sudanese to learn out of it. For me, that's really very critical. And of course, we still believe that the principle that China is embracing, that raise the modernization, is really the principle that we need in South Sudan. The principle that we work together and we co-create. For me, that's really a very big value that we learn from China modernization, is that you don't impose. It is we sit all together, we co-create the intervention that we need for the best benefit of humans in the society. I think for me, that's really the biggest value that we can borrow from China. And also this principle of mutual trust. It's not a question of you pointing at me at my mistakes, but a question of you telling me can we work together and put things right. And I think for me, this principle of mutual trust is really very important, that we will learn out of it as South Sudanese from Chinese modernization, and that offers an opportunity that we can go. And the concept that whatever we are doing is people-centered. For me, that value is very important, that at the end of the day, all of us exist at our different structural institutional setup to put people at the center of what we aspire to be a positive change in our society. So this is really a case study that when I had the chances of visiting quite a number of provinces in China, and what made me to feel that is actually one of the big lessons I learned from China modernization is asking someone in the streets of China, and the person will tell you the word hunger is very far from me. It's a very simple statement, but the statement tells you that the more people's livelihood is secured, actually actually, the more people stand for embracing peace, stability, and progress. And we have seen from the previous presentations how China become a growing global economy powerhouse. It's simply because the citizens are so much secured in terms of livelihood. I think that for me is a very great lesson from Chinese modernization that we may need to invest on, because as really some of the speakers have mentioned, food is a great thing that we need to embrace and we need to focus at. And I think for us in South Sudan, in terms of our politics, one of our great challenges is we fail to really nail down, and I think this is a very great lesson we need to learn from Chinese modernization. This concept of having three concepts in one in building a society that you want: the concept of the nation, the concept of the state, and the concept of the country. These particular concepts, with my visits to several times to China, I have learned that really they are very strong, that if you understand them and you put them into the right track. Actually, my honorable former minister, my former deputy minister of foreign affairs, this number of political parties will mean nothing if we really understand what we mean by the state of South Sudan, what we mean by the nation of South Sudan, what we mean by the country of South Sudan, because it's a competition around these concepts in South Sudan that political class were unable to nail down exactly what South Sudan wants. So in conclusion, within the limited time that I was given, I feel the most important thing is that we as South Sudanese can learn from Chinese modernization as an opportunity as follows. Number one is really investing on vocational skills transfer between Juba and Beijing. For me, if I feel that if our academic institution, our think tank, can invest on how do we scale up transfer of vocational skills between Juba and Beijing, I think that will help us a very big lesson that we learn from Chinese modernization. The other one which I impressed the government of China and people of China that I wish should continue as one of the takeaway from Chinese modernization, it is a continuous human to human relationship and human to human cooperation, human to human exchange of knowledge that you can see quite a number of visits. I would like to attest and make a testimony that the regular coming of Chinese medical teams here have created a big challenge and have created a big opportunity for South Sudanese medical scholars to start asking that, look here, this is really a human value that we are looking for. So if you can see people start really evaluating that concept of Chinese medical teams visit to South Sudan, carry that human value, for me, that's something that we should take away from Chinese modernization as a new opportunity for South Sudan in terms of cooperation. The other thing that I wish should be very clear as a third, a long-term or a mid-term strategy of takeaway, I wish we can have a South Sudanese-China trade experience symposium that we can have between South Sudan trade sector and Chinese trade sector, so that we can learn all this industrialization that we have seen that the last speaker have spoken about. It is a question of exposure. So I'm quite sure we have the spirit of standing for development, but the question comes, where have we been exposed to case studies? Because this demand that people are calling always, we need to learn from other people's experience. I think for me, China stand out as a very good case study that we can have a South Sudan-China trade symposium and an exposure that we can learn of it. Finally, in conclusion, that I'd like to conclude is that with the presence of the Chinese peacekeeping mission, I was in WOW one time with the deputy SRG, and I was shocked to see how the Chinese peacekeeping mission are playing a big role in WOW, that actually even they invest in developmental or infrastructural small-scale project, and that has brought the human face of peacekeeping. You can see them farming vegetables within the compound, going out, improving feeder roads. And when you ask the citizens in WOW, how do you look at Chinese peacekeeping mission compared to other peacekeeping mission? They normally will tell me that, Edmond, look here, Chinese peacekeeping mission have brought the human face of UN. We can fail it. We can see the farming in the compound. We can see them improving our feeder roads. I think that's something that we need to keep maintaining within the global responsibility to promote peace and stability. That Chinese peacekeeping mission have shown a case study in WOW that if that case study is shown to every South Sudanese, everybody say like, this is what we want. So I think retaining that for me is another takeaway from Chinese modernization as an opportunity for South Sudan. In conclusion, I would like to end up by saying it is our primary responsibility as South Sudanese at our different capacity to undertake the responsibility of shifting the gears from the gears of violence to gears of peace and stability. Even if our own brothers and sisters from China have the great will to transfer knowledge and skills to us, if we ourselves does not embrace creating an environment that we can translate the knowledge, the skills from our fellow brothers Chinese in South Sudan, still will fail. So for me, the responsibility lies still upon us as South Sudanese to make a decision that enough is enough to what we have been doing as a struggle for development and peace through the barrel of the gun. We need to change that Nokia. We need to do development and we need to do progress through things to do with the livelihood, things to do with the development, things to do with building human resource that stand up to bring the people of South Sudan at the center of the nation and the state and the country of South Sudan that we wish to have. Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, Professor Leben Nelson Moro from the University of Juba reminded participants that peace and stability are the bedrock of economic progress. He cautioned that without peace and investments, infrastructure and productivity cannot flourish.
I really want to say thank you very much to the Embassy of the People's Republic of China to South Sudan for inviting me and my colleague who is there from the Sud Institute. We value very much the great collaboration between our institute and then the embassy. And the university also is very happy. The University of Juba is very happy with the great collaboration between the embassy and our university. I have only three themes that I'm going to deal with very quickly because a lot have already been said. First, I will comment briefly about the global situation, what is happening globally. Second, I'll talk a little bit about the Chinese experience of what we call the Chinese miracle in terms of development. Lastly, I'll talk a little bit about the UN, and this is like a solution. It's already, we talked about multilateralism. So this is like a solution, and also bringing in the Chinese experience. So what is happening in the world? We see a highly unequal world where millions of people face conflict and live under the poverty line. Our experience in South Sudan speaks volume. Many of our people are destitute and they depend on humanitarian assistance. Millions are in refugee camps in neighboring countries, really facing a very difficult time. I'm sure if the sea was near, some of them would have to cross the sea and then perish there, as Honorable Thou correctly pointed out. So then, what is really happening now globally? We see the rise in tariffs, where the most powerful country in the world imposing tariffs left and right. And then we also see aid cuts, aid being cut drastically. So what is the impact of this going to be? That the situation of the vulnerable people is even going to be harder. This is a huge problem. Like in South Sudan, we see UNMISS is going to cut its activities by 50%. So these cuts in aid, humanitarian and development, and tariffs are going to make life extremely unsettling for many people. I faced it, we faced it in the University of Juba when we were setting up the Center for Refugee and Migration Studies. We got funding from UNHCR. Then Trump came to power, unfortunately. And the funding disappeared overnight. So the poor are going to get more poorer. This is a huge problem. Now, let us come to what we heard about the Chinese experience. The Chinese experience, Honorable Dao, I echo what is said. that this is a good opportunity for knowledge sharing, from learning about the remarkable story of China, the miracle in terms of development, pulling out millions of people out of poverty within a very short period of time. The African experience is very different. A lot of us are either remaining in this poverty trap or try we make the eyes honorable also now mentioned. In 2013, we were doing very well. We were actually, our economy was almost better than some neighboring countries. And what have we become? Because of the fight, where are we now? Have not been paid for 1 year. That means a lot, isn't it? So the economy is in what? In problem, and the big issue is the issue of conflict. I think what has been, maybe has not been coming out clearly is that underpinning the Chinese miracle is peace and stability. Years, decades of peace and stability. When you have peace and stability, then you can begin talking of what? Development, economic progress. How will you do development when you are today you are fighting? You make a road today and then you destroy the road tomorrow. You make a building today, you pull the building down. Now, where are you going to do the development? So the prerequisite should be what? Development. And the experience we learned from China is that decades of peace and stability made it possible to plan development. And if you plan development, you also need another factor. You need leadership. You need committed leadership driven by some ideology. And I like what Her Excellency said about putting people first. Putting people first, I think this comes from Robert Chambers in the development literature. So it is not about development, but development should put people at the center. If you have that, then you are moving somewhere. Then also we learned the Chinese part of the Chinese experience about how planned development can bring what? Huge progress within a short period of time. But for you, we do a lot of planning in South Sudan. We plan every day, but the next day we have forgotten the plan. Implementation, very crucial. And for you to implement a plan, whether that plan is a ARA access, like is a peace agreement. A peace agreement is a framework, is a plan, isn't it? You have to implement it. If you don't implement it, it is a paper on what which you throw away. It will not bring you the outcome which you are struggling for. So, implementation of plan, and I think rightly talking about education. Education is crucial. You need to have the people who can implement the plan. And this comes from the what? From the universities. But if you stop your university, don't give it resources, where will you get the quality from? Where will the people who do the planning, evaluation, and where will they come from? They will never come from what? Okay, let me go very quickly. And also we learned about incremental development and consistency. Planning is that you move from this plan, you go to this plan, you build on the other plan, incrementalism and consistency. We also learned this from the China part. And lastly, that takes me to the last part of my presentation, partnerships. And these partnerships, as our friend said correctly, win-win. Partnership that benefits what? The partners involved. And I think what I'm hearing from China is really great. And also we heard about market access. We heard about zero tariffs. This is really where the world should be going, not the world of tariffs, 8 cards and so on. We should not be going there. We should be going the Chinese way. market access, zero tariffs. That is what is going to what? Is going to deliver us the peace and development that we yearn for. Finally, the previous speaker already talked about multilateralism. That means it is about the UN. The UN was founded to ensure peace and stability. Chapter of the UN. That is very crucial. So for the UN to work so that it delivers peace, the UN should be reformed. And then China is a global power, can work with other like-thinking countries to reform the UN, so that the UN can promote peace, stability. With peace, then you have what? Development. With no peace, you never have development. We'll be singing about development, but without what?
His message was clear: a peaceful South Sudan is a prosperous South Sudan. The chairperson of the Union of Journalists South Sudan, Oyed Patrick Charles, applauded the Chinese government for their continuous support through the Road and Belt projects, infrastructure development too. From the discussions, one theme stood tall: modernization is not just about machines and money. It's all about the mindset, cooperation and peace.
Senior Presidential Advisor General Paul Manyang-Juk, who is also the chairperson of the High-Level Committee for the Implementation of the 2018 Peace Agreement, distinguished professors, guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, good afternoon, good evening. It is a great honor to be here today at the Embassy of the People's Republic of China in South Sudan, a place that symbolizes the strong bonds of friendship, mutual understanding, and cooperation between our two nations, South Sudan and China. Today we celebrate not only the enduring friendship between our peoples, but also reflect on China's remarkable journey of national development and the lessons it offers the world in addressing challenges of our times. Challenges that cross borders and affect us all. In October 2025, the fourth plenary session of the 20th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China reaffirmed a comprehensive vision for the nation's future, guided by the five-sphere integrated plan and the four-pronged comprehensive strategy. It talked about delivering tangible results in high-quality development. The vision focuses on coordinated programs or progress in economic, political, cultural, social, and ecological development. It reflects a deep understanding that modernization must be people-centered, balanced, and sustainable. China's success in refining its regional economic layout, promoting balanced growth, and advancing people-centered urbanization offers valuable lessons for us in South Sudan. It reminds us that development must reach every village, every city, and every family, for only then does it truly serve the people. The communique further talked about confronting global challenges together. Our world today faces unprecedented challenges, from climate change and public health crises to rising inequality, technological divides, and regional conflicts. No country can stand alone. The issues are complex and interconnected, and they demand cooperation, not confrontation, partnership, not polarization. China has stepped forward as a key player in offering global solutions through the Global Development Initiative, or GDI, the Global Security Initiative, or GSI, and the Global Civilization Initiative, GCI. China is helping the world move toward peace, shared prosperity, and understanding among nations. On climate change, China has pledged carbon neutrality by 2060 and is investing massively in renewable energy. It now leads the world in solar and wind capacity, showing that green growth is not only possible but profitable. On public health, during the COVID-19 pandemic, China provided vaccines and medical supplies to more than 120 countries, a gesture of solidarity that saved countless lives. On technology and innovation, China is working to close the global digital divide by sharing experience or expertise in ICT, satellite communication, and smart agriculture with developing nations. On peace and stability, China's active participation in UN peacekeeping, including its contribution right here in South Sudan, demonstrates its commitment to building a safer, more stable world. There are no isolated acts. They are part of a broader vision, the vision of a community with a shared future for mankind, a vision that places cooperation above competition and shared progress above individual gain. China's global contribution to shared prosperity. China's domestic achievements are deeply connected to its role in global development through the Belt and Road Initiative. The country has become a driving force for connectivity and growth across Asia, Africa, Europe, and beyond. Under this initiative, roads, ports, railways, and industrial parks have been built, transforming the economic landscape of many developing countries, but perhaps even more importantly, the BRI promotes mutual learning, a bridge of culture and trust among peoples. For nations like ours, South Sudan, China's approach offers hope, a partnership based on respect, equality, win-win cooperation. China does not impose models. It shares experience. It does not dictate terms. It listens and collaborates. That is why so many countries see China a partner for progress, not a competitor for power. On balancing development and security, China has also shown that security and development must advance hand in hand. Sustainable peace cannot exist without economic opportunity, and prosperity cannot endure without stability. This philosophy resonates deeply with us in South Sudan, a nation emerging from conflict and working to build a future of peace and reconciliation. China's contributions to UN peacekeeping, especially its dedicated soldiers and engineers serving on South Sudanese soil, are living symbols of international solidarity. They help us rebuild roads, restore the foundations of normal life. Their presence here reminds us that global peace begins with cooperation and mutual respect, principles that China has consistently upheld on the world stage. On green development and future of humanity, another powerful lesson from China's experience is the pursuit of green development guided by the belief that lucid waters and lush mountains are invaluable assets. China has shown that economic modernization and environmental protection can go hand in hand. Though through initiatives like the Green Belt and Road, China is helping other nations, including those in Africa, transition toward clean energy and sustainable practices. For South Sudan, where climate change threatens livelihoods and ecosystems, China's technological and financial support for a green development could be transformative. Together, we can ensure that our growth protects the land and sustains future generations. And China and Africa, a partnership of equality and respect. Across Africa, the partnership with China has transformed lives. Under the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC, we have seen massive investments in infrastructure, health, trade, and education. From Kenya's standard gauge railway to Nigeria's power plant, from Ethiopia's industrial zones to Egypt's new capital city, China cooperation is helping Africa move forward. What makes this partnership so strong is its foundation of equality. China does not view Africa through the lens of charity, but through the lens of opportunity, a continent rich in potential, talent, and dreams. The respect is what makes China-Africa cooperation not only successful, but enduring. And the China-South Sudan friendship. Here in South Sudan, we are proud to call China a true friend and reliable partner. From the early days of our independence, China has supported our aspirations for peace and nation building. It has helped construct hospitals, roads, schools, and energy projects that are essential to our development. Chinese doctors continue to serve in our hospitals. Chinese engineers work tirelessly on our infrastructure. Through education or educational and cultural exchanges, many young South Sudanese people have studied in China. They have witnessed firsthand the discipline, innovation, unity that drive China's progress. Lessons they now bring home to help rebuild our nation. This is the essence of genuine friendship, helping others help themselves, and looking ahead or building a shared future. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, as we look ahead, South Sudan remains committed to deepening cooperation with China under the framework of the Belt and Road Initiative, FOCAC, and the Global Development Initiative. Our shared goal is clear: to build a peaceful, prosperous, and sustainable future, not only for our two countries, but for the world. Together, we can confront the great challenges of our era, from poverty and inequality to climate change, technological transformation. Together, we can ensure that the story of the 21st century is one of cooperation, solidarity, and shared growth. And in conclusion, on behalf of the people of South Sudan and myself, I express our heartfelt appreciation to the People's Republic of China, to its government, its people, and its leadership for their unwavering friendship, the vision, and contribution to global development. From Beijing to Juba, from the Yangtze to the Nile, we are connected by bonds of hope, respect, and shared destiny. And may our partnership continue to grow stronger. May our cooperation inspire others, and may we together build a world of peace, prosperity, and shared progress. Thank you. Long live the friendship between South Sudan and China. Thank you.
As China and South Sudan continue to work hand in hand, their shared vision of prosperity grows ever stronger, a partnership beyond borders, driving a future built on friendship, trust, and mutual progress. I am Rita Ilwa, and this has been Beyond the Borders. Join us next time and we explore more stories of international partnership shaping South Sudan's tomorrow.